What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show Recap with Mo. Well, we're getting ready to get into another episode breakdown of Kingdom Business. But before we get into this thing, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit that's going down, alright? So the episode we're getting ready to get into is Season 2, Episode number 2, titled Wanna Be Happy. Now, the synopsis for this episode states that Sasha and Darlene both take advantage of Denita's post-traumatic amnesia. Taj is pressured to propose to Essence. Rbel cozies up to producer Xavier, and Calvin desperately seeks redemption. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this thing. So this episode opens with Taj running down the hospital hallway towards the waiting room to retrieve Calvin and CJ. He's like, you all got to come and see this. Of course, they're like, what's wrong? Like, what in the heck is going on? And once they get inside of the room, they notice that Anita is awake. Well, not all the way, but she's awake enough for them to see that she's okay at this point. All right. So anyhow, Calvin is like, look, I'm just glad that our prayers were answered. And of course, Taj is like, look, I need to apologize to you because of the way that I treated you. I'm ashamed of what I did. Calvin is like, no, you did what you were supposed to do for your mother. You see what I'm saying? And, you know, I felt that there was a level of disrespect. I can understand you being upset to a certain extent because that is your mother. But at the same time, you got to realize that your father was not intending to hurt her. She just got into the line of fire, and unfortunately, she was struck by the boom boom. And I think that if anyone is hurting the most at this point, I honestly believe that it is Calvin. Because in all honesty, he could have lost Sister Jordan as well as Danny. Like, Danny is already gone, and he's already blaming himself for her death. And now if Sister Jordan was to go, if she was to expire, then that would be another individual on his conscience that he allowed to get away. You see what I'm saying? So right now, I think he's really trying to cope with all of this, and then all of these burdens that's coming alongside with it is not what he really wanted, but he's going to have to deal with, right? So while they're standing there in the waiting room, the doctor conveys to him that everything looks great. She's actually exceeded what they honestly thought she would be at this point in time. And of course, they're like, it's a blessing. Calvin is just elated at this time. But the doctor is like, look, we're going to actually have to perform the surgery, but, you know, we'll let you know what, you know, when that would take place or whatnot, if we could, you know, get to the bullet or whatnot. So anyhow, everybody's elated from the information that they've received from the doctor. While they're praying and discussing the outcome, Calvin is like, he wouldn't mind her having a little amnesia, definitely with all the things that have gone down. Calvin is like, he would hate for her to have to go through another surgery, but if they were able to get the bullet out, and when he says bullet, Denita wakes up and she was like, hold on, what? Somebody shot me? And they're like, so you don't remember any of this? She was like, no, I don't remember a thing. So I was like, okay, well, maybe that's good right now because you all know how Denita can be. So anyhow, next we see Miss Rbel up on the pole doing her thing, right? So she's at the club. She got her job back part-time, obviously, and in walks a producer. Now, the producer by the name of Xavier owns a record label, and he sends one of his guys over there to introduce himself, to actually, you know, tell her that, you know, Xavier wants to meet her face-to-face. She was like, look, ain't no hands out here, playboy. Like, if he want to see me personally, he needs to meet me in the VIP room and do what he does. So anyhow, he goes over and conveys that information, obviously, to Xavier. Dex is liking what he's seeing right now. He was like, you playing hard to get. She was like, no, it ain't about that. It's about that paper. So he was like, oh, you for real, for real? She was like, definitely. So he was like, look, if you really want to make some for real money, I need you to be all in on this, because the people that attend these parties, they don't F around. And she was like, okay, that seems like my type of people. Like, let me know when it's going down, and we'll go from there. So anyhow, he was like, okay. So anyhow, back at the hospital, we see Malcolm informing CJ that the hospital is going to discharge Denita day after tomorrow. CJ is like, hold on, wait a minute. She ain't ready for that. She ain't ready to be released. But if they're going to release her, then Okay, that's cool. You're going to be her private nurse. Malcolm is like, hold on, wait a minute. No, you saying too much. She was like, no. She's going to be released. You're going to be her private nurse and everything going to be good. She's going to be glad. Of course, Malcolm ain't going to be glad, but it is what it is what it is. So back at the club, we see old boy Xavier approaching Rbel in the VIP room where she's doing her thing with old boy, and he's like, okay, let's get out of here. She was like, no, we're not doing that. She was like, look, let me dance for you. She's singing while she's dancing and twirling and grinding. And, she sound good. You know what I'm saying? So anyhow, Xavier's like, okay, so you giving me a dance and a sing-along or whatnot? And she was like, yeah. And he was like, well, when can we meet again? She was like, tomorrow. And he was like, tomorrow? She was like, at your studio. So Xavier's like, okay, so you auditioning or something? She was like, no, I don't need no auditions, Playboy. Like, you just got it. So you going to have me at your record label tomorrow. We're going to move on from there. And you going to give me a record deal. Essentially, that's what she's saying in her head. So he was like, okay, you real confident right now. So anyhow, back at the hospital, we see Taj attempting to reboot his mother's mind. Or her memory. Let me say it that way. So he sings this song, and he sings it slowly to allow the words, to see if she can catch on to the words or whatnot. So she's like, did I write that? And Taj is like, well, actually, Malcolm wrote it. And Denita's like, you mean the nurse? Malcolm the nurse? He was like, look, it's a long story, but I was glad to see that her memory was rekindled to a point where she could remember the majority of the words. And it also conveyed to Taj that she's better off than what they thought she was. So that was pretty good to see. Next, we see Rbel showing up at the studio to show old boy what she can do. When she's getting ready to sing, out of nowhere, we see Essence coming into the room, talking about she's on time finally. And I was like, what the hell is going on with Essence? So Essence is here, and Essence is like, look, you hit the audition? She was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be singing for him. She was like, we're going to sign her up. We're going to meet you on Friday at a dinner. And he was like, look, I take this very seriously. Like, Essence, you need to roll out. So she rolls out, but she tells her, look, I'll see you on Friday. So essentially, she was like, you good. Like, you could sing. I was already going to introduce y'all, but shit, y'all here. So you here. So anyhow, going on from there, Rbel performs a song talking about some candy. Now, I wasn't even feeling that song. Like, let's sing something with some substance, right? Talking about some candy. And oh boy, I mean, let's be honest. He wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it. He was like, hell no, what the hell is this? So he's like, look, respectfully, you have a beautiful voice or whatnot, but I need something believable. Like, I need to believe what you're talking about. Like, that might be what you feel, but I don't believe it. And like the little candy song she was singing, it was all right for the little young kids, you know what I'm saying? But for me, I need to listen to something that has some substance. And I was like, right, bro. Like, give me some Luther, give me some Jodeci, give me some things like that. Like, I can listen to that all day. But this candy, whatever you were just singing, I can't do it. We gotta let it go. I don't even know what she was talking about. But anyhow, getting back to the script here, when he told her what he said, when he said what he said, she felt some type of way about it, and she was getting ready to leave the room, but then she decided to turn around and sing another song, a lot smoother. It actually had some thought and some meaning to it, and of course, it sparked a light bulb in Xavier's head, and he was like, okay, I got you now. I hear you. I see your potential, right? And he was like, look, if you're going to do this, let's keep it real. I'm real hard on my artists. My record label is no joke. She was like, okay, I'm good. Let's do this. By the way, I'm still signed to Caesar. I just want you to know. I need you to know that. And he looks at her like, what the hell? Like, for real? Man, she got too many secrets for you, bro. So anyhow, going on from there, we see Calvin, who's going over to see his wife at the hospital with some food, right? And we find out that the DA wouldn't press charges if he checked himself into a wellness facility. All right. So Denita's like, we all good? He was like, yeah, we're good. He says, but then he also says, well, I don't know. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what are we doing here? But anyhow, she was like, well, what if my memory never comes back? He was like, okay, well, good. And she's like, look, you told me a little bit about how I ended up here. Who is Danny? Now, I'm keeping this part of the show short because it wasn't really much to really talk about in this scene, but the fact that her memory is slowly coming back. She remembers some of the things that he told her, but she also remembered that big piece of the puzzle, which is Danny. And of course, he looked like he didn't want to go into further discussion on that. So that's why I said, let's go on to skip past that. But anyhow, back at Rebel Records, we see Caesar and Taj talking it up, right? And Caesar's like, look, I need you to keep your focus on Rebel's future. And he was like, what do you mean? He was like, she's growing a little bit impatient right now. But bro, like, give her something to bite on. Like, throw her a bone. Like, I know you did this thing with Tasha. We don't know what's going to come of that. So you telling her to be patient, she's not hearing that. Because right now she got bills to pay. And the only way she knows how to get it is to go back to what she was doing before, or to get down with somebody that's going to, make that thing work. Well, at least what she thinks is going to work, right? So anyhow, we head back over to the hospital where we see Denita talking to CJ, going through her calendar and her contacts. And she's like, look, I don't recall any of these names and all of this stuff. And according to my calendar, I'm supposed to be on tour right now. And CJ is like, yeah, you're supposed to be on tour right now, but unfortunately, due to the incident, that's not going to happen. But the caveat behind all of this is your music has been going up the chart. So everything is big right now because of what has transpired. And she believes that they could use this, get on a network or whatnot, have some friends come out, and this can be a great thing in ratings and all of that stuff, and they can still make some money off of it. So, of course, Denita is liking what she's hearing right now, and she was like, look, let's do it. Draw up the paperwork. Let's go from there. So, of course, CJ is like, are you sure you're good financially with, how all of this stuff works and whatnot? Sister Denita is like, look, let me reassure you of something very quickly. I may have gotten shot. I may be lying here in this bed right now. But the one thing I have yet to forget is how to count that money up. And I was like, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I'm with you when you're right, Denita. I'm telling you, I don't forget how to, look, sick bed and all, I don't forget how to count that paper. But anyhow, going on from there, this is when it started getting good, y'all. So Darlene and Taj are sitting talking off in the waiting room, right? Discussing things. And she tells Taj that Calvin has messed up a whole lot of stuff, but you can assist with restoring all of this if you go ahead and get married. Taj is like, married? Like, what in the heck are you talking about right now? Like, ain't nobody talking about no marriage right now. So Darlene interrupts him and she was like, shut it up real quick. See, grown folks talking real quick. How far along is that girl? He was like, far along? She was like, boy, don't play with me. I know she pregnant. I've been knowing she was pregnant. How far along? And why you not trying to get married to this girl? See, you're going to mess everything up by having this baby out of wedlock. You need to let everybody know that y'all going to get married. You're going to let this be known publicly before the baby comes. Before, not after. You're going to set this right. All right? So he was like, how in the world did you know? She was like, look, don't play me. And listen, man, older women always pretty much know 99.9% of the time if a woman is pregnant or not. And it's crazy, but it's not really crazy, but I'm just saying, like, I know from my own personal experience, I remember when my wife wasn't feeling well and there was some other stuff going on. And my wife, every so often, she would always be like that throughout the years, so you could never tell. But my mom, this one time, she was like, look, you pregnant. And my wife was like, Like, for real? Like, she was like, no, I'm good. Like, this happens ever so often. And my mom was like, okay, but I'm just telling you right now that you're pregnant. And out of all the years that little situations were going down similar to what my wife was going through at that time, that was the only one time that my mom said anything about it. And there you go. It was what it was. And I was like, how in the heck did she know? And my mom was like, baby, I'm the mama. Like, mamas always know when another woman is pregnant. I was like, man, get the She was right on that one, though. But anyhow, getting back to the script here, we head over to Redeeming Records to see Xavier seeking to purchase Rebel's contract from Caesar. Now, of course, Caesar doesn't want to let her go because contractually she's still obligated to do what she's supposed to do for Redeeming Records. But Caesar isn't willing to let her go right now because he still feels like she needs to stay within the genre. He tells her that technically I can't stop you from working with it, Xavier, but I also want you to help me out with something, but I also need you to finish your artist deal right here and do whatever you need to do here. She was like, bet. And then she was like, is there anything else that you need from me? He was like, well, I need a favor. And of course, she's like, what do you need? So the next thing we see is Caesar at the hospital along with Rebel. Now, while Caesar is there, he runs into Denita walking in the hallway, for her daily physical exercise and whatnot. So when she runs into him, she says, you look familiar. He was like, okay, do you know who I am, essentially? And she was like, yeah, you look familiar. What is your name? He tells her his name. She was like, ooh, that's a strong name. And then she also sees Rebel. And she was like, do you sing? She was like, yeah, I'm in the music business as well. Long story short. So anyhow, she was like, well, I'm quite sure I will remember you guys. Woo. So from there, we head back over to the studio to see Taj on the piano. Essence comes in to see him if he's ready to go home. He's like, no, not right now. I'm working on something. She was like, are you working on something or are you working through something? I already know that, the piano is your therapy or whatnot, and it seems like you're going through something. What's on your mind? He conveys to her like, okay, it is what it is. Let's get married. She was like, what? Get married? Like, ain't nobody trying to do that right now. Like, we good. Like, let me take you home, get you situated or whatnot. We don't need to talk about this marriage. And as a matter of fact, if you want to talk about marriage, you should have done it a lot better than this. Now, I do actually agree with it. Like, bro, put a little more effort into it, and maybe you'll get a different response. Now, I'm not going to say she for the streets. Let me pause on that for a moment. Because her initial response to it is like marriage, like something she has never really thought about in her mind. And there are some women out there that just never thought about being married to anybody. And I could say some fellas too, like the same thing on this side. Like, you got individuals out there that just aren't concerned about being tied down, as they say, with another individual. And that's cool if that's what you want to do, have at it. But in this scene right here, just looked like, either the proposal was just off, she didn't accept it because the way that it was presented to her, or she never thought about it before. And she was just thinking, we good how we are. We got this whole little relationship thing going on. We got a baby on the way. We're good. We already got a self-made family. All right. And he's telling her, I want to be married. So going on from there, we head back over to the hospital where we see Sasha and Denita. Now, Denita is like, I remember hearing your voice, because now Sasha is standing here talking about, yeah, I prayed for you. Woo, woo, woo. Anyhow, the reason why Sasha is there is because she wanted to present her with her own contract. She's like, I'm sorry. I don't really remember any of this. She was like, that's fine. But you did want me to be part of Kingdom Records. So before all of this went down, you were going to sign me to a record deal. Woo, woo. And she was like, well, if I said that, then I guess that's true. So she goes on, she grabs the contract. And as she's getting ready to sign her name on the line down below, she comes to herself. And she was like, oh, no, I can't do that. I'm sorry. I can't legally sign anything in my current state. And she was like, if you want anything done, you need to go through CJ. So, of course, Sasha is mad as hell. Like, she already knows ain't nothing going down that direction. So, anyhow, the next thing we see is Danny's parents coming in to pay Calvin a visit and to find out what really happened to their daughter. The father is ready to put hands on Calvin. The mama put hands on Calvin. And of course, he didn't react or respond in that fashion. He was like, look, we will figure out what's going on, whoop, 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 but don't make any rash decisions. The father's like, look, it's far too late for that. And quite personally, I don't believe anything that's coming out of your mouth right now, which he shouldn't, because they feel like you've lied to us. All this time you were supposed to be helping and you were doing some other, you see what I'm saying? So no, I don't trust anything that's coming out of your mouth. So back over at the crib, we see Denita and Darlene discussing kingdom business the next morning. And Denita is just so glad to be out of the hospital. She's conveying to her mom, Darlene, that she's just ready to get back into the work environment. And Darlene is like, look, you need to focus on the label and getting well. That's all you need to do. Don't get it twisted. Like, we are allowing you to keep what you doing, what you got going on. But trust and believe, we the ones to control all this. We the one that stir this pot right here. And Denita don't say nothing back. She just sit there like, yes, ma'am. You see what I'm saying? Darlene don't put it in a... Yeah, we control this, all right? So anyhow, in walks CJ. And Darlene and CJ had this little sidebar conversation. Essentially, Darlene is like, look, I got a vision. I need you to pray on it, but I really don't need you to pray on it because I've already made a decision. All right? It's been made, so let it be done. I need you to do your first sermon in the pulpit. CJ is like, no, I'm not here for that. She was like, no, it don't really matter what you want. I want you to do it, so let it be done. That's it. End of discussion. So anyhow, next we see Rbel and Xavier coming into this restaurant to meet up with Taj and Essence. All right. While at the restaurant, Rbel is feeling some type of way. She tells Xavier not to let, Essence know that she was a woman of the night or a stripper or whatnot. And he was like, look, Essence don't care nothing about that. She was like, look, keep it to yourself. Don't tell Essence because she already knows that Essence is messy, all right? And she don't need her enemy. And I'm keeping it as biblical as possible, right? Like, she doesn't need Essence knowing what she does at night to make her money. You see what I'm saying? She doesn't want him to give her any ammunition to do what she does, right? So anyhow, going on from there, they hit up the studio. Now, let me just say this real quick, because earlier in this video, we talked about her auditioning and all of this stuff, and he was unpleased by what he heard about her singing about that candy, dropping on the candy, and all of a sudden, they hit up the studio. Essence is singing her little part, and then Rbel comes in, she's singing her little part, but the shitness sounded exactly like the candy we heard in the previous video. And you have the audacity to sit up here and knock your head to it like it's something of substance. I didn't hear one daggone piece of substance in that track. Not one. Not even a beat. Let's be honest. Anyhow, moving on. The next thing we see is Sister Sasha. Sasha is going over to speak with Caesar because her plan didn't work with Kingdom Records. All right, so she has to figure out plan B, which is to go talk to plan C, which is Caesar. Now, when she gets over there, she starts telling him all the things he needs to hear, why she would be a great fit. Unfortunately, Caesar isn't trying to have it over here either. She's trying to come on to him. He ain't taking that either. So, unfortunately, you need to figure out your plan D, which is do it your damn self. Like, I don't understand why you can't figure that out at this point, Sasha. Ain't nobody trying to work with you. They know what you're about at this point. Prime example, Caesar's like, look, do you have anything else I can listen to? She was like, plenty of things. And she looks at him seductively. And he was like, look, I just need one song. I don't need all of that other stuff you trying to bring to the table at this point, because he already knows, right? So going on from there, we see Taj and CJ having a conversation while he's playing on the piano. She's talking to him about his decision, how he was going to propose, what he thought about fatherhood, what he thought about marriage. And he talked so much about being a great father, that he never thought about his wife, how he was going to propose, and all of those things. So she lets him know, like, you need to put a little more thought into it. I know that you prayed about it, but we need you to think a little bit deeper about this whole situation, right? About being a husband, all right? That's it. So anyhow, going on from there, we head over to the church where we see Sister Darlene introducing CJ for her first sermon. And CJ, she does her thing for a little while, and in walks Denita. Now, when Denita Jordan walks in, Darlene feels some type of way about that because she told her to keep her tail where she needs to be, which is at the building, to work on getting herself together as well as the record business together. Not at the church. We got this right here, me and your father. But you not listening, so let me go ahead and jump on this microphone, try to fix this up. Let it look like I'm introducing you. My daughter is in the building. Yes, she is. Give her a round of applause. But at the end of the day, CJ is supposed to be delivering her sermon. And of course, Denita is listening to her mom. She was like, look, I'm just here to support my daughter. CJ was trying to find her way out of this sermon. But anyhow, she went up there and did it anyhow because she had no choice. Denita wasn't helping her, and you already know Darlene wasn't helping her because she already saw it to fruition. So anyhow, going on from there, we see Taj serenading his girl at the restaurant. Essence is sitting there just living it up. She's loving all of it. They're bringing out these rose petals and these roses and whatnot, and she's just eating it up. And I ain't gonna lie, the song that Taj is singing right now is bomb. It's bomb. Now, Xavier, if you want to know what some real singing is about, you should have been at the restaurant that night to listen to Brother Taj deliver this song to his new fiance. That was substance. That was singing. I don't know what the hell was going on at the studio. So anyhow, long story short, Essence, she accepts the proposal. All that talking about marriage and this marriage and that. All of a sudden, when the time was right, the mood was right. Like Johnny Gill said, let's make the mood right. Turn off the candlelight. She was right there with it. You heard what I said? So anyhow, next thing we see is Calvin running up into this party or whatnot. Now, this is the same party that Dex was telling old girl Rbel about. And Rbel just so happens to be in attendance. Now, you see all of these big ballers and shot callers all around the building. You see these women halfway dressed in the building. So this is the party where everybody about to make their cash. So obviously, Danny was in this situation, and Calvin knows about it as well. So he's trying to figure out what happened to Danny Williams. And of course, Dex ain't having it because Dex comes out and he clocks Calvin upside the head real quick. Now, I give it to Brother Calvin. He got knocked down, but he didn't stay down. He got back up. I guess he took the words of Donnie McClurkin to heart. Like, we fall down, but we get back up. And that's exactly what he did a number of times. You see what I'm saying? But eventually, Calvin, I need you to lay down. Lay down. Because you couldn't take any more hits upside your head. But anyhow, moving on from there, he calls him out. And one of the guys in the room is like, he's right. Like, this ain't right. So obviously, he was able to get to that one soul. That one soul in the room that was willing to hear. The rest of them was like, I don't even know what he's talking about right now. Danny Williams. No, we don't know her. But anyhow, that one man was ejected with him. All right? But before he left that room, he turned to Rbel and he said, you better than this. In my best preacher voice ever, you better than this. Better get it together. Anyhow, man, that is it, man. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this recap and this review right here. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit that goes down. As always, thank you guys for your support. And as always, man, talk to you guys soon. Peace.